Welcome back, everybody. It's your boy Ray Garvin here for the Draft Network, joined by our talented scouting department, Kyle Krabs, Damian Parson, and Joe Marino. And we've got a treat for you all today because for the first time in any iteration of the 2023 TDN Top 100, we are diving into the safety position. Now, before this video, backstage, I asked the scouts, what's more impactful, a lockdown elite cornerback or an elite safety? And I'm not going to spoil who said what, but we're going to dive into this safety class. We've got 7 safeties inside of our top 100, and we actually got to see 3 of them live in person during the week of practices with the 2023 Senior Bowl. DP, let's start with you. Let's talk about a safety, a name. We haven't done much on it, so the floor is yours. Give us a safety in this class that you want to highlight.
Man, I got to go to Georgia, right? My region with Christopher Smith. Guy was recruited as a high school corner, right? So the natural coverage ability is already in his bag. But you talk about high instincts, leader for that defense, a defense that was one of the best, if not the best, in the nation. Mind you, they won the national championship, right? But he has the ball skills, the vision, the patience, the ability to bait quarterbacks into throws from playing on top of the roof in 2 high safety looks, right? But then the ability, because he was a corner, to come down and Kirby Smart to feel comfortable with him in the slot versus, or in the slot, in the nickel versus receivers, right? Even against tight ends as well. Now, he's not the biggest guy, so you have to watch out certain matchups with him in the league in terms of tight ends, but the ability to stay attached and stay connected to guys in the hip pocket, that's not a problem for him. He does hit hard as well. You know, you look at, I believe it was in the playoffs, the SEC championship game against LSU, made a big hit on a slant that forced an actual interception. We're talking about jarring the ball from the body. This is a really talented player that is, like I said, instinctful. He's intelligent. And he just does everything well that you look for. So I'm really excited for him, for NFL teams to figure out what they want to do with him, because he can play corner, play that nickel spot, or he could play in the back end of your defense.
Dame, I enjoyed watching Christopher Smith at the Senior Bowl, but I think the safety that I enjoyed watching even more than him was Sidney Brown from Illinois, who Kyle's been teasing us about. Old Sidney Brown said he was a lot like Antoine Winfield, and that certainly got me really excited. And then he met the hype when we got a chance to watch him down in Mobile. Man, he's exciting. He has really exciting man coverage skills. And that's, to me, a big differentiator when it comes to safeties. These guys, a lot of them can play, hold their own in split zones, and some guys can come down low and be a +1 guy in the box. And certainly Sidney Brown has that dense build that, could come in and pack a punch and play through contact and hit. But what he showed in man coverage, not only against tight ends, but some of those really twitchy slot receivers at the Senior Bowl, really spoke to his man coverage skills. And I liked his confidence to invade the catch point and really timed up some really nice breaks on the ball. And so he's a player that really, I thought, dominated the week, had great energy. You could tell he loves being out there, had, all those leadership type traits that you're looking for. And so he's a guy that's really risen for me in this safety conversation. And, there's a lot of good ones like Ray mentioned. We got 7 in the top 100. In my personal ballot, I got 10 safeties in the top 100. So I'm really liking this class. But the guy that's really moving the needle for me right now is Sidney Brown out of Illinois.
Oh, Joe, you surely, with 10 safeties and appreciation for the safety position, you're one of the guys that said that you'd rather have an elite safety than an elite corner, right?
I don't know if I said that. I don't know.
Listen, I need to know how I'm going third here, and I got to talk about Brian Branch. Now, Brian Branch is that guy at the safety position for me, and I'll out myself here. I told Ray I think an elite corner on the outside changes the math more for an NFL defense. But if I had to choose, I would want the guy that you can do the kinds of things with that an NFL defensive coordinator is going to be able to do with Brian Branch. You think about the evolution of the game and the Pete Carroll and Baltimore Ravens of the early 2000s versions of defenses that have an Earl Thomas or an Ed Reed in the high post. Those days have come and gone. And the way the league is garnered and tailored to play now is with 2 high safety shells. And you think about the Vic Fangio coaching tree, and all of these defenses use these safeties from depth to attack the defense and really be the catalysts of big plays. And I think about Brian Branch, what he's done at Alabama. his value on passing downs in zone coverage, to play in the slot intermittently. He made at least one game-winning play on a ball late in the fourth quarter in the slot this year. But he's also really, really valuable on passing or on pressure situations to be able to condense down, squeeze, pressure off the edge, pressure from the nickel, the ability to tackle in space on the perimeter. You talk about these nickel defenders and how valuable they are. You got to be able to fill the D gap. You can't be afraid of contact, and you got to tackle in space. And Brian Branch, for my money, is the best open field tackler in this year's safety class for what he is able to do. He's instinctual. They put a lot on his plate at Alabama. And you start to do the math and ask all the different ways that he can contribute on Sundays. And that, for me, is what moves the needle most about Brian Branch, when I'm really excited about him. I think he could be like a Budda Baker type defender in the NFL. And anybody who's watched the Arizona Cardinals, the Cardinals don't have too much to hang their hat on defensively. But Budda Baker is that guy, and they get a lot of run out of Budda making impact plays because they can move him around so much. So Brian Branch, for me, there's a lot of likable safeties in this group, but Branch is the guy for me that I would pound the table for, and I would want on my team no matter what.
And can you guys just talk about it? Because you invoked a couple of names of safeties past that are just great, right? Ed Reed, the ball hawking center fielder. I mean, he's just back there doing his thing. But in today's NFL, what do teams, is it a team by team, situation? Like when I'm thinking of an impactful safety, what comes to my mind immediately is like Tyrann Mathieu, right? This guy that just all over the field. I don't know if he was a safety. I don't know if it's a star position, but just for any of y'all, like just philosophically, like what do you want your safety to do? Is it that Tyrann Mathieu role? Is it the center fielder? Is it that Joe? What do you want the safety to do?
I want versatility. I want a guy that I could put on the field and ask to do a number of different things, whether that's playing in deep alignments, whether that's playing down in the slot, whether it's being a +1 guy in the box, guys that I can trust to tackle, guys that can make plays in the ball. That's what I'm looking for. And I know that I just pretty much listed all the traits anybody would want in a safety, but I'm looking for those total packages, guys that aren't niche players, right? A guy that can only be a big dime linebacker, or a guy that can really only play in deep alignments and is a single high guy. All that's valuable, but I want guys that, based on personnel groupings, the offense doesn't really know what I'm going to run because the guys that I have on the field can do so many different things. And so, to me, it's that versatility that trumps everything.
I'll speak up and say I agree with Joe. It's a term that was coined more so for basketball, positionless. That's what you need for defense in the NFL nowadays. You need guys like Brian Branch and a lot of these safeties, like Joe talked about, being versatile to move wherever, right? You want to disguise things. You want to confuse Patrick Mahomes in the Super Bowl, right? But you need guys that can line up out wide in the slot, attached to the line of scrimmage and blitz, be a linebacker if you need him to and shade down with motion. You need guys that can do all these different things. You want to play positionless defense simply because it allows you more flexibility and fluidity as a play caller defensively to where, hey, I can pull. Think about New England Patriots, right? They like their big linebackers. They've always liked them. But then you see when they got a hold of Adrian Phillips and Kyle Duggar and Devin McCourty, they pulled one of those linebackers off the field, put Adrian Phillips as a quintessential nickel or dime linebacker, and now you have three safeties on the field, and you can cover so much ground because that's three good athletes that's on all levels of the defense, right? So that's what I look for in the safety, man. The versatility, the fluidity to give me the opportunity to do whatever I need to confuse these quarterbacks.
For me, it comes back to trends across the league where with how athletic and dynamic the quarterbacks are in general these days, you don't want to be playing a lot of man coverage on the outside, turning your backs on these guys, trying to rush with 4 or 5 or bring pressure, because if you don't get home and you're playing man coverage on the back end, and you're going to give up a ton of explosive plays. So if you're playing man free, and that's a lot of the Belichick style defenses have historically gone to in their money down situations. They're going to try to zero you if it's 3rd and 7+, or they'll play man free, right? Because we want to be able to play man coverage on the outside. We want to bring the bodies. We want to manipulate the protection and dictate how you're going to protect against us in the front. But when you got Josh Allen and you got Lamar Jackson and you got Patrick Mahomes and you got all these dudes that can get outside the pocket and make the first arriving pass rusher miss, they're going to gouge you for big plays if you're not playing more of the zone coverages. And if you're going to play man free, you then open yourself up to these big time throws down the field as well. So that's why you see the prevalence of more zone coverage, more too high safety shells, and the guys who can play from depth, but then simultaneously, as these guys talked about, have that versatility and having more than one of that guy on your defense, because you need to have interchangeability. Because if everybody else is just a position player and you've got one chess piece that moves around, you can get up to the line of scrimmage and dictate based on the leverage and how the secondary's lined up and what the front is. You can kind of guess. But to have two of those guys and to be able to change the picture after the snap and have them do all the different things, that's what really makes some of the league's best defenses, whether it's Brandon Staley or Vic Fangio, all of these two high safeties, the Jonathan Gannons in Philadelphia. That's the trend right now. So being able to have guys like Philadelphia went out and got a Chauncey Gardner-Johnson because he could play in the slot, he could play deep zone, and he had a really successful year. So that for me is what really moves the needle with safeties in today's game.
Well, and because this is the first time that we've talked about safeties, really quickly, I want your top safety. Just give me a name, whomever that may be, and then I want you to say yes or no. Does he encompass those skill sets that Joe talked about, that sort of positionless player, the Swiss Army knife, the do-it-all? Who's your top guy, DP, and does he encompass those skills?
Alabama's Brian Branch, and yes, he does.
Joe?
Yeah, Brian Branch, and emphatically yes.
Kyle?
Brian Branch, absolutely.
All right, there it is, Brian Branch. Seems like our consensus top safety in this class out of Alabama. So make sure you check out some film on Brian Branch. Make sure you read the scouting reports over here at the Draft Network on Brian Branch, as well as the other 7 safeties in our top 100. Joe's got 10 of them in his, so you know it's a good class. So for our scouts in the Draft Network, if you want more access to what we do as a team, there's a link in the description for the premium Discord service. Before you get out of here, hit that thumbs up button, subscribe, like the content. Comment below. Let us know what you think, what your team, what safety you want your team to draft in this class. So for Ray Garvin, the Draft Network, and all the dope creators that we have on this team, we're out of this thing until next time. Peace.